T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I hope you guys had a nice Halloween. You know, it just happened last week. So to finish out that week, Skeleton walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, what'll you have?" Skeleton says, "Bring me a beer and a mop."
That's beyond dad joke.
No, it's bad jokes. They're not dad jokes. They're just bad jokes. Okay, let's get going. Sports and other stuff. NFL Week 8. Some bombshells from the trade deadline. We'll talk about that. And it's official. We'll tell you which teams are done for the season, in our opinion. Good to see you boys. But first, the NFL trade deadline offered some surprises. Or did it? Lugs, what do you think?
Well, I'd like to go back just a wee bit before the deadline. The pickup of the year, it has to be Christian McCaffrey. He scored every way you could score except for kick a field goal. So I say now I never was a big 49ers guy, but now I honestly think those guys, they got a shot. They got a real shot at Super Bowl. And also I'd like to mention Roquan Smith to Baltimore. That's going to help them out. But there were lots of them. T-Dog, let's hear your picks.
I'll go through like a few of them. Actually, I think the trades that matter, I think there's 5. I think Miami getting Bradley Chubb and Jeff Wilson gives them some extra juice off the edge. And Jeff Wilson has experience working with Mike McDaniels back from the 49ers day, and it gives them another punch to go with Mostert, because when Mostert needed a blow, Chase Edmonds, again, God love him, he was good last year with Arizona. For whatever reason, he's been a hot mess, and he stalls out some drives for Miami. So now they have 2 guys who know how to run that system. So I think underrated Jeff Wilson was a huge pickup for Miami. Then I have, the 49ers, McCaffrey. McCaffrey turns them into, there's only 3 teams that really matter in the NFC. I mean, not that we'll get into it. And with the addition of Christian McCaffrey, 49ers are back in there with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Speaking of the Eagles, Robert Quinn, again, I know he's not going to be a starter probably, but just as a rotational guy, he'll probably get him 5 to 6 sacks, which will be huge. He'll probably have 1 big or 2 big plays in the playoffs for him. And like Lug said, Roquan, I think he's really going to solidify the middle of that Ravens defense that slowly guys are getting healthy. Ajabu, I believe, came off IR, and so did Bowser. So their defense is starting to round into form in terms of picking up guys either off of IR or the trade for Smith. And the one that is I put so low, I'm not saying he can't be huge for him, is Kadarius Toney for the Chiefs. They picked him up from the Giants. Now, he is a very athletic wide receiver who showed flashes last year. That being said, he was always injured. So I don't know if he can be the new Tyreek Hill for him, but I think he has a shot. I'll just say 2 that I thought were just okay. Nyheim Hines to the Bills. They wanted to get J.D. McKissick in the offseason. So clearly, I think Nyheim Hines is a better version of J.D. McKissick. So who's to say? I think they might even use him more as a receiver than even as a running back. So I think that's a pretty solid addition. Vikings getting T.J. Hawkinson was a huge get because he's actually a true tight end who can also receive. So he is another weapon they really didn't have with Irv Smith. Irv Smith, if you looked at Irv Smith, I'm not saying he wasn't a good player, but he looked like a wide receiver. I mean, I don't think he could help him blocking.
Hey, let me just ask one question. Were you surprised by the trade within the division? I mean, you're sending this guy to one of your rivals.
From the Lions' perspective, with the draft capital going the other way, not so much, because if you go back to the NFL draft, the Vikings allowed, I believe, the Lions and Packers to move up. They actually did trades with them during the last 2022 draft. So in
Okay,
that
I
way,
was just sort of surprised that you'd give up a caliber player like that to an opponent, to a regular opponent.
I think obviously with the record, they understand they're not going to really compete, and this team is farther away, the Lions, competing than what they originally thought. And I think
Right.
also a guy they got as a rookie, Mitchell from Vatech. I think they really like him to some extent, so I think they want to give him playing time because again, this is a lost season for the Lions. So, and then the last one that I didn't like the Chase Claypool acquisition by the Bears. I get that Justin Fields needs more weapons.
Yep.
I just think as talented as a receiver as Claypool is, he has the physical talent to be like AJ Brown, but he's not polished. He doesn't have the technical skills of like an AJ Brown or like a true like number one receiver. And he's just been immature. He sometimes feels like he doesn't know where the boundary is. He sometimes has done taunts when they're in hurry up and he doesn't give the ball to the ref. He does a pose, so he burns clock off. I just worry about, giving up their second round pick. It wasn't even the pick they acquired from the Ravens. And the one that could work out, but I still kind of odd, was the Calvin Ridley, because he's been suspended this whole year because of him betting on the game, which is a pretty big deal. So and before that, he was out because of mental health issues, and I'm not going to get on for not being out, about for mental health issues, but to give up, because that's the thing. If you look at it, I can't even really get into what they gave up trade, because it's the most intricate. If he does this, we get this pick. If he does that, we get that pick. If he plays this many snaps, we get that pick. It's like so many layers.
Qualifiers.
Yes. So I get it for the Jaguars because they're not going to really compete this year, but it still seems odd that they're willing to give up draft capital for a guy who has two big things against him. I don't know if he'll mentally health right will be ever again, and it just takes one more slip for him to get suspended for another full year. So,
see, I think the Robert Quinn deal is a good deal for the Eagles. Here's the deal. I think more than you think, T-Dog. They'll be in games and they'll be winning games. The Bears, they were always coming from behind and he couldn't go around the edge. When a team is desperate in the third and fourth quarter and they got to pass, he'll be in that backfield all the time. I think it's a great deal. Like you said, he'll be situational and won't play all day, but I like that. Are you surprised? The Packers, what did they do? Nothing.
Well, they were going for Claypool, I'm pretty sure, and they just got beat out. Now, I'm a little bit more positive on Claypool, but I think what that say to Justin Fields, hey, we're finally thinking about some offense for a kid, that shows some promise.
We're trying.
So, yeah.
No, Lugs, you hit on a good point. Two trades that were really good. Like if you're investing in players in terms of like if they were stocks, you're investing, like you should definitely feel comfortable in the field stock because they're willing to give up their second round draft pick. And that's why it sounded like the Steelers were willing to give the Bears Claypool instead of the Packers. So they were willing to give up more.
Do you think they've made a decision on Fields then? He's the guy? Is that what this writ says to you?
I definitely think, to be fair to what Lug said, entering this year because it's a new regime, I think they didn't really know.
Agreed.
They wanted to test it out. And then obviously based on what he did, going back to the Vikings game, even though I know they didn't score a lot of points, if you look at how well the offense, obviously except that in the red zone against Washington they played well. And obviously Patriots was probably his best game. And, obviously he played well against this Cowboys team that has been shutting teams out. I think they wanted to add to him to just because they still probably want to evaluate him as a passer, and they just understand they don't have enough talent around him as a passer. The other one is obviously they lost a draft pick because of the tampering with Tom Brady. So for Dolphins to give up their first round pick for Bradley Chubb, because they had two and now they have none for next year. It's a huge commitment to Tua. So credit to Tua.
Right.
Like, he's shown enough in the games where he's been healthy that they clearly are like, we believe in this guy. We're giving up the little draft capital we had left, where maybe we could have made a run at a younger quarterback in the 2023.
So another
draft.
decision for a quarterback moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at Tua, he is like the top passer on third down. I mean, he's hitting like 7 out of 10 passes on third down, and he's not making stupid decisions. So he is worth the investment for them, considering what they gave away to get Tyreek. They've got to stay with him, just cap space wise, I would say, unless they just hit upon a fabulous rookie.
Kind of like in a lot of situations, like we've talked about before, and I know everyone else does too. You know, I know Tua had moments before this Mike McDaniels year, and obviously getting Tyreek Hill was a huge part of this explosion. But kind of going back to Josh Allen, his explosion obviously coincided with them picking up Stephon Diggs.
Sure.
And really helped his development. Tua always was like a very smart player. He could read and go through his reads fairly quickly. He's got a good arm. He doesn't have a super strong arm. He's obviously not going to generate like 400 yards rushing a season. He doesn't have that type of mobility. But again, he's a smart processing quarterback who can get the ball out quick. And with Tyreek and Waddle, that's all he needs. Like they have built the offense around what he does well, like any good offense should. What can the quarterback do well? Let's develop that. That's what you've kind of seen with Fields in Chicago. They've started to develop the offense around what he does well. So credit to Mike McDaniels and their coaching staff and their front office for allowing Tua to succeed the way he has.
Yeah.
All right.
I think everybody got a little something out of the trades that just happened. So.
And Roquan Smith representing himself, by the way, which is interesting, has no agent. He goes to the Ravens, and what do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it can only help.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens, what they got to do is the offensive line is where they need some help, being able to set up some runs and stuff.
For Lamar?
Other than Lamar, doing sandlot stuff. Of course, he's not doing anywhere near what he used to in that regard. But yeah, it's a positive all around for the Ravens.
Well, like I said, I think you added him with Patrick Queen, and also he probably goes back to playing the position he was a second All-Pro because he was playing outside a linebacker with the Bears this year, the will. And now he's back to playing middle linebacker. That's where he had success. So he'll, I don't know if he'll get the green dot, obviously, because he's just joining the team. But like he probably in a few weeks will be at that level where he can help get people lined up correctly. And he is a good leader. I mean, you worry about him. Now you have two guys that represent themselves who want big contracts. Right. So that'll be interesting for the Ravens
on the same team.
Of the year. So. I mean, that'll be maybe they can represent each other. Maybe Roquan could be the agent for Lamar and Lamar for Roquan. I don't know. But,
sit in the room together.
Yeah.
Let's do a package deal.
But like I said, I think they're a fascinating team because, again, I don't know if they'll ever be on the level of Bills or Chiefs this year. But I think, we'll give them time because Gus Edwards, he'll probably miss this week and they have a bye, I believe, next week. But if Gus Edwards can get up going, and you kind of saw it, like he provides that kind of hard running. Kenyon Drake looks like he'll be like their kind of like quicker back, and they have that also with Justice Hill. And obviously, we'll get into this game. Isaiah Likely kind of coming into his own, the rookie. Like they're adding these other weapons. Again, Lamar played well in that Buffalo game. I mean, in the Bucks game. So like, and we'll get into that. But I'm just saying, like, I think they are kind of like I was saying about the 49ers. They might be the third team, I think, in the AFC.
Hey, Lugs, did you ever get green dots or did you like the red dot candy? Or was that the blue light special?
I like that rainbow dot, I like it all. Just the smorgasbord dot.
The smorgasbord. Hoopty doopty doopty. We're going to call this Are they done or are they on the run? Here we go. From the AFC, fellas, quick answer, little discussion. Raiders are 2-6. Done or on the run?
Yeah, they're done. Yeah, their defense is just too much of a sieve. I mean, since we're not really gonna get probably too far into that game. I mean, Andy Dalton channeled his inner Drew Brees and just funnel pass after pass to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was a little stud for him. He had 96 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns, and he added 62 yards rushing. The sad thing for him is they had Josh Jacobs was running hot coming in this game, and Saints nullified him. I know Devontae Adams was, I think, dealing with the flu. Like, he did nothing in this game, so they're toast. Yeah.
All right. Moving along. Steelers in the AFC, 2-6. Done or they're gonna run?
They'll still fight, I would say, but they're not going to go very far. They've just got to go ahead and suck it up for this season with Kenny Pickett and let him take his lumps. But they'll be in games just because of the defense, I would say.
They're done. I mean, they traded Chase Claypool for a reason. I mean, again, not to say they were happy with him and they were going to resign him, but like, you don't trade a guy of his talent if you're really in contention. They're sellers right now, so they understand they're done.
Yeah, but Pickens is a much better receiver and he's bigger and he just needs to develop.
I know, but you had one guy. Pickens was still out there. They were essentially trotting out 3 receivers at all times. So now they'll have Sims, I believe, in the spot of Claypool. So like, it wasn't taking away from Pickens at all. I mean, they could have just used him as a decoy.
All right, a couple more teams in the AFC. The Jaguars at 2-6. Done or they're gonna give it a run? What do you say? Come on.
They've been done for years, and it's not going to change. Sadly, I think it's one of those things where you've seen the waste of a good quarterback.
Well, I was going to ask you next: is he going to turn into something, or is that going to be a wash? What's happening with young Lawrence?
Maybe. I think there's a maybe on that, just because they're still trying to build around him. Peterson is a great coach, but they got too many pieces they need to fit.
I just want to say about the Jaguars, even though they're done, Urban was right. His big pick from a year ago, ETN, I mean, he exploded for 156 yards and a touchdown. And the reason why they're done and why they're trading for Calvin Ridley, who might play next year, is they need explosive players. ETN's the only explosive player they have on their team. I know they paid Christian Kirk a ridiculous amount of money. He's solid and whatever, but they don't have anybody explosive except for ETN, which is a problem in this day and age.
All right, write it down. Urban Meyer was right. All right, one more in the AFC want to hit you with. I know the answer, but it's fun to talk about. Houston Texans, 5-1 on the scorecard. Are they done or they're going to give it a run? It's our man, friend of the show, Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith.
Yeah. I mean,
come on.
They are setting off the smoke alarms. They've been toasted so dark. I mean, it's over.
It's bad when Derrick Henry, obviously a great running back, has had 6 200-yard rushing games, and 4 of them have come against the Texans. So that just shows you their ineptitude has been long-standing. Yeah, I mean, they're done. I mean, their running back, the rookie running back, Pierce, looks like he's a guy to keep. Nico Collins, I think that wide receiver, young receiver, I think he's going to be a chip down the road for him. But a lot of this team is not going to be there next year, or big parts of it won't be, it feels like.
And what about Lovey? Will he be there next year? Maybe with a shave? Maybe?
No.
Yeah, maybe if he shaves his beard, they'll think he's another guy.
A clear and present no. Wow, that's rough. Okay, let's switch to the National Football Conference. We'll go with the Panthers at 2-6. They did beat the Buccaneers. And
no, you're a week behind. They actually lost this week to the Falcons.
You're right. I am a week behind, but nonetheless, the Panthers at 2-6. Are they done, or they're going to give it a run? Come on, Panther
fans. I think the pick 6 by the defensive end who just reached up and plucked the ball out of the air. Was it Walker? I think was the quarterback.
PJ Walker, yeah.
When that sort of thing happens, come on, you're done. Go ahead and just tank the season, get yourself a decent quarterback, and go from there.
How many quarterbacks are you going to have in 3 seasons? 6, 7, 12?
Whatever it takes.
You know the funniest thing, the biggest irony of Panthers who are done. I'll say
Thank
the biggest irony of the Panthers is they cut Cam Newton, who, to be fair to him, was
Right.
probably on his last leg, which that was fair. But then they replaced him with Teddy Bridgewater, who played silently but wasn't of a caliber to probably be a starter for a year. He's a good backup. But then where they really start going wrong is they get Sam Darnold, who was an absolute train wreck before, and obviously, shockingly, he gets to Carolina and is a train wreck for them. Then they give up more draft picks for Baker Mayfield. Obviously, they didn't need to see him that long to know.
Crazy.
So this guy they pick up who came from the XFL and PJ Walker, who's there because Matt Rule knew him from Temple.
Right.
2 games in, he's pretty good. He's the best guy they got. Was this guy they just got off the street?
Matt Rule, not so much. He's long gone. Yeah, Cam Newton, arguably, we'll talk about this at another time, but the best player in that franchise's history, shall we say?
Yes.
Without
No,
question.
Well, McCaffrey. I'd have to
No,
say.
McCaffrey's
Not-
nowhere close to Newton.
not on the
If
long
you're-
haul.
If you're gonna say anyone rivals him, it's Julius Peppers.
Thank you.
That's-
Pep was
it's
there. I
those two.
forgot.
That's those two. No one else. It's those two.
All right, we're going to stay in the NFC.
Steve Smith. Okay, you can throw Steve Smith in there.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm going with
Yeah.
Steve Smith on that one. All right, we're going to stay now. We're going to go to the NFC North because all these teams are there. Lions at 1-6. Are they done, or they're going to give it a good run? Lugs.
Oh, they're done.
What about
I
our
mean,
boy, the coach, man? We love that guy.
Well, you can love him all you want, but he ain't putting up no W's.
True.
Yeah, I know he people liked his fiery talk, and I know they're going for it on 4th down, but kind of like what Lug said, if they don't start getting W's here, I mean, and I think he has to go on like a real run on the back end to save his
You think
job.
he's
Like,
done? He might be done already?
I think he would you agree, Lugs? I think he's done. If he doesn't
Yeah.
if he doesn't get to like 7 wins, which is gonna be hard.
Yeah,
I
now it
think
is.
he's done.
See, I think you've got some guys waiting in the wings. I think like Dan Quinn, I think Brian Flores. You got some real quality coaches that can take over these franchises and really make some changes. I think Dan Campbell is like Coach O at LSU. He's a good soundbite. You don't know what he's saying half the time, but he's a good soundbite.
It's the voice.
You know?
Yeah, but there wasn't he the guy? Yeah.
Where's the barbecue?
Or is it like Texas Southwestern or somewhere like that? Or is it around? Okay, but wasn't Dan, what's his name, Campbell, the guy who said we're going to put sheep out in front of the stadium and you can't look them in the eye? Or what was that, T-Dog? Wasn't it something about sheep?
I don't. He was mainly known for the biting of
Weird.
the kneecaps, which this defense has not shown the propensity to bite kneecaps. They are one of the worst defenses, probably historically, in the NFL. So,
All right, we're going to move on and stay in the NFC North. This is a big one here, fellas. The Green Bay Packers, are they done? Or they're going to still give it a run? What do you think?
Nah, they're done. I can't see because my opinion of the coach there. I don't think he can coach work well enough to do anything, even with Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers is so petulant that he goes on. What is it, McCaffrey or whatever?
Pat
Oh,
McAfee.
McAfee.
Pat McAfee show,
McAfee.
yeah.
Yeah, with his Hiawatha tea. Anyway, and he just lambasts his own players, his own coaches, his own front office. If I were them, I would say, this is the time when we'll go ahead and suck up and pay you for this year. But after this, bye-bye. They need to start over, period.
T-Dog.
well, yeah, they're done. I don't know if we're going to talk about one of these other teams. They're like another team in the NFC. They're broken, I would say, is the best way to say it. Their wide receivers and O-line are so average that when they get behind the chains, even Aaron Rodgers, one of the best passers in the history of the NFL, teams just go to man because they're not. Who are they afraid of? I mean, who should they be afraid of? Romeo Dobbs? I mean, Romeo Dobbs, I think, will in time will be a decent player, but you're asking a rookie who I think was like a 4th or 5th round pick to like be the man right away. It doesn't happen. I mean, it's not fair to him. You go, Lugs.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you got Cobb and Watkins, who both, if you go, boo, they break a bone sometimes. You know, they're just like so fragile. I mean, and Lazard, has he played at all this year?
Well, you know, Alan Lazard has played well, and he is a solid wide receiver, but he's also
not a one, though.
He's a 3rd receiver who's been cast into being a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when that situation occurs, is like the offense is not good. He might accumulate 800 yards at the end of the year. Someone's like, he's pretty good. No, he was not. He was not good. So
hey, Lugs, good job on using the word of the day, petulant. I want to give you that, petulant, the word of the day. Good job on that. All right, I do have a follow-up question, and I'm allowed one by the rules. LaFleur, this is a big test for him. Do you think he'll survive it all, or will this kind of stain him? And this could be, I don't know, it's a tricky time for him, is it not?
I do. I think so. But no, he will be in Green Bay.
No, I mean, but this could really, tarnish him.
I think what we've seen this season, for me, it's put him on a lower level coach. I used to think of him as part of, if not the elite top, at least somewhere in the conversation. I don't anymore. Of course, he's dealing with nut job Rodgers. And so he never knows what he's going to get with Rodgers. I think that is unpredictability that even a coach can't overcome.
I've never seen nut job on the back of a jersey. That might be a first. That would, he hate me, nut job. Go ahead, Tito.
I'll just say real quickly, I'm not going to be as harsh on Matt LaFleur as Lugs, but I will say some of it is on him, but I really will be an apologist for Matt LaFleur in this regard. When you don't have the personnel, and he's never going to say it, so I'll say it for him. When you don't have the personnel at wide receiver and their offensive line, Bakhtiari, who was a great player one time, can't stay healthy, and their line's a mess. I mean, what are you going to do?
And plus, they paid Bakhtiari a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that you can't scheme up if the talent on the team can't do anything with it. So,
but by the same token, he's not playing to the strengths. The strengths are those 2 running backs. If they would go ahead and run the ball.
Well, I will give you this. I have said before, I think definitely they should use A.J. Dillon as a running back, and they should use Aaron Jones as their quasi number 1 receiver this
Agreed.
whole year.
Slot receiver
hybrid
for sure.
hybrid.
You go back 2 weeks ago, watch that touchdown against the Giants down the sideline. Like, that's a wide receiver type catch. Like, he's their best wide receiver. He's explosive. Like, use him as a wide receiver. So I will give you that, Lugs. He should just again, kind of like when Kentucky had the great run when their quarterback got injured and they went to their wide receiver under center, Lynn Bowden. And they ended up winning, I think, like 8 or 9 games that year.
Yep.
Based on just kind of running like a
Wildcat
single wing. Yeah, Wildcat single wing. So yes, I agree with you on that. But other than that, like I said, I'll be apologetic to Matt LaFleur because I just think the personnel is just not that good.
All right, I got one more team from that division. It's the Chicago Bears at 3-5. Are they done, or are they going to give it a run?
Oh,
tough call.
It is. I don't think they'll have a winning season. I don't. So they're done.
I think they'll be competitive in games, but again, you lost not only like 2 of your best players on defense in Quinn and Roquan, but they were also team captains. And they were legitimately team captains. They were beloved. I mean, you saw when
locker room
Quinn
guys.
You saw when Quinn got traded, Roquan crying. And I know some of the issues some people might have with him being his own representative. I guess us to an extent being his own representative. he was well respected in the locker room. He was a team captain. He was a guy who got people in the right. He did not play well for most of the few games he played this year, but he wasn't awful. I mean, he was not bad. He was just solid. So,
All right. Is there any other team you guys want to add that we didn't have on this expensive list? I yield the floor. It's an open mic.
I would say two. LA Rams
Whoa.
and Arizona Cardinals. They're both done for me.
Wow.
I know we've got a lot of games, a lot of football left, but I don't see how LA fixes anything. And the Cardinals are just an anathema. It's like they should be scoring massive, massive points, and yet they're not.
Again, I give a lot of credit to Lugs. I agree with him on those two teams too.
Wow. Agreement is good. Agreement is good.
Because Green Bay, because like I said, when I was talking about Green Bay, there's another team I think of broken. Rams are broken. Their running game is so toothless. The defenses just get to pin their ears back the whole game and go at an awful offensive line. And Stafford definitely hasn't been right this whole year. Obviously, that injury to his arm was legitimate. And, I mean, all they have right now is Cooper Kupp, and he can only do so much. So, and look, I know they have Donald and Jalen Ramsey. It doesn't matter. Like we saw with Broncos, when a team's on the field that long, defense is on the field that long, they start to give things up because they're just gassed.
Yeah.
So it literally was a win now, and that win now has come and gone, is what you're saying. That's what last year was.
The bill has come due.
And now other teams are in win now, maybe.
You know what's crazy is one trade that didn't go through is the Rams were going to give up 2 number ones for was Burns, the edge rusher from Panthers. Like, look, if you got Brian Burns, like that doesn't make you all of a sudden a contender. Like your offense is broken. Like
go for a left tackle at least.
Yes. All right. Anybody else? Open mic time. Any other teams you want to throw on the fire pit?
Denver, of course.
Denver.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's why that's why they traded Chubb. Is like they're regularly admitting
it's a fire sale.
Yeah, they were trying to trade Judy. I guess there was no deal that was good enough to trade him. But I think they kind of are admitting that they're. I don't know. I know they're like 5-3. I just think without Breece Hall, I don't see this Jets team turning around. I mean, I even think the Jets know there's a problem with Zach Wilson. I'm not saying for the future, but at least this year, because I don't know if you all saw, they promoted Mike White to number 2. Joe Flacco's now number 3. Usually when a move like that happens, they're kind of getting him on deck to, slide
get some
in.
reps.
So they don't know what they don't know.
But I'm just saying, think about this, because this has already happened in this year. Nick Foles was the backup to Matt Ryan. And then like a week or two prior to that, Ellinger became the number 2. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, Ellinger's now the starter.
True. For the rest of the year, we've been told. Right.
Yeah. So
that's quite a bold move right there. All right.
And
what do
they
we do?
also got rid of Naeem Hines.
Yeah.
So
they're selling. They even though they're still in it, technically, I guess the Colts. I mean, look, Jonathan Taylor. I think he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. I don't think he's going to be right all the rest of this year.
That's hard.
No.
At some point, they just need to shut him down, just for his own safety. I mean, because you just worry about him aggravating other parts because he's trying to
compensate.
Yeah, compensate. So,
all right, let's do Lugs. A little sports of yesteryear. You want to do it, and we'll come back talk a little more.
Rock and roll.
Here we go. Sports of yesteryear. It's when our man Lugs in his 62 Chevy Nova goes out and about and finds old people who can talk about things that happened 100 years ago. Go ahead, Lugs. Take it away, man.
All right. More than 100 years ago, 1895, the first ever organized auto race in the United States is run in Chicago. 6 cars race over a 52-mile lakefront course. Only 2 finish because of, yes, Blizzard conditions.
Really?
1958, Los Angeles Rams beat the Chicago Bears 41-35 before the NFL's largest single game attendance crowd of 90,833 fans. 1960, the New York Yankees outfielder Roger Maris beats teammate Mickey Mantle for the American League MVP. Maris, 225 votes. Mickey, 222. Okay, 1969. Quarterbacks Billy Kittle of the New Orleans Saints and Charlie Johnson of St. Louis. Charlie and each one passes for 6 touchdowns for a combined NFL record of 12 passing touchdowns in a game. Saints go on to beat the Cardinals 51-42 at Bush Memorial Stadium. Now the Strangey. 1988, a Mexican radio station erroneously reports that Mike Tyson has died in a car crash. Actually, he was getting married to Robin Givens. 1990, Golden State Warriors register a 162-158 win over the Denver Nuggets. The total of 320 points is an NBA record for most points scored by 2 teams in a non-overtime game. That, my friends, is sports of yesteryear.
Oh my gosh, I almost had a heart attack. Robin Givens or he died? How did those get confused? I need to know. How does one?
I'm thinking either way, he's in trouble.
Well, that's kind of how I. That's kind of how I read into it, but I didn't want to, presume on that. Well, because I was going to talk about Roger Maris, but I can't. You can't top that. Robin Givens or he's dead. Oh gosh. Okay, so that's what we have. What else tonight, fellas? 37 minutes past the hour. Here we go.
I think we need a little bit on the Michigan State tunnel controversy.
Tunnel vision, we call it.
The video is pretty bad.
That's rough.
And I'm thinking there will be some legalities out of this. I mean, they've already suspended at least 4 Michigan State players. But when you look at the video and they're wailing on that kid with a helmet, that right there, I don't know what started it, but I think what they're going to have to do in stadiums like that one with one way for both teams to go, I think they're going to have to hold one team till the other team is all inside.
Makes sense.
I mean, it for 90 years, they've had no problems, apparently. Or none that we knew about. Maybe just because we got the video is what makes this more part of top of mind.
And what's the deal with helmets coming off? Not just in games, they seem to pop off more, but now guys are taking them off. It costs the guy a game. Now the field goal, what was that game that the got a personal foul for taking his helmet off and running around?
Yeah, I've forgotten which game that was, but yeah.
What is the deal with helmets and right now being used as weapons, assaults? I mean, it's just that was a bad situation. You are right about that.
Yeah. Well, it's a good handheld piece of, I was going to say metal, but I think it's plastic. But still, it's a heavy chunk for those guys.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know if it's ever come out what it really sparked it. I mean, I don't know what words were said, but I just find it odd that again, I'm not saying that they shouldn't change protocol and how people go up the tunnel, but like we talked about before the show began, like that tunnel's been that way for 90 plus years. They haven't had at least incident that we know of. Maybe it's because they didn't have cameras everywhere like they do now, but. It just seems odd that they haven't had an incident until now. I don't know.
You think back in the day, there's some fisticuffs, probably in the old leather helmet days, open fist.
Yeah. I just think it just wasn't reported.
Luggs' boy Red Grange in there with Illinois fighting off the Wolverines of Michigan in that tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
When Red was the man.
That's right.
Other thoughts for tonight? this episode of Sports and Other Stuff?
Just I guess since we focus on the teams that are done, I just want to say, yeah, just in terms of like
The
top
teams
three
that
on
are
each-
not. Yes,
the,
please.
the teams that are not done.
They're going.
Dak Prescott. I know the Bears defense is kind of just not that good this year, but Dak Prescott picked them apart. He's just getting back. That's his second game back. He's just getting a rhythm. Gallup is just kind of getting back to it. Schultz is getting back to it. After the bye, Zeke will be back. It'll be healthy. Like this offense,
You're feeling a
Has it-
rhythm, are you? A rhythm?
yeah, they haven't even really they're not even hit their stride yet. And like they're looking pretty good. And then you mainly look at their strength, which is their defense, their speed, they shoot the gaps, they create chaos, they're hustling everywhere. I mean, the crazy thing is Parson, I know he had that fumble recovery touchdown, but it was one of his quieter games, and they still just ran roughshod over the Bears. So like that tells you how good they are when their best player, like I said, by his standards, had a quiet game and they were still dominant. I just want to give a shout out to the Eagles in terms of, I was definitely said he was the weakness just because it had so many strengths, but Jalen Hurts, it's crazy to think there's another quarterback who's done the Josh Allen trajectory where not just gradual improvement, but
Dramatic.
noticeable improvement
Yeah.
from year 1 to 2 to 3. You go back and we'll look at those 3 touchdown passes to AJ Brown. All of them were top tier throws. Like that's what a top tier quarterback level throws.
A rope.
So I actually think Eagles look like the Bills of the NFC, but I think they're better balanced on defense, and I think they're deeper. So I don't know. They're an intriguing team, I think, going forward. 49ers, like we already talked about, I just think 49ers, Jimmy G, we always joke about Jimmy G, like he's just solid. What a life Jimmy G has. Like you have, I know he's injured right now, but they have Deebo Samuels, Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, now Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, and Trent Williams, one of the best left tackles. He doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Nope.
Like, he just doesn't have to be stupid,
Right.
which comes up unfortunately too much with him. So that's why they're definitely trailing. And then obviously you have the Bills and KC. But like I said, I think Baltimore that second half against the Bucks, they ran for over 200 yards against the Bucks, who I know they've had a few weeks in a row where their run defense has fallen by, but still, the run for 200 yards in the second half against that team. And like I said, they have like the rookie Likely, he had 77 yards and a touchdown. And I think Andrews will get healthy. Bateman, obviously later in the year, will get healthy. Gus Edwards will get healthy. And I just think, adding Roquan and stuff, like this is a team that's going to gel and is going to be the third team of. So I think those are the top 6 teams, I think, in the NFL going
And
forward.
Baltimore has a very weak schedule for the
Hmm.
rest of the season. So
It's kinda-
they have an easier path than the others.
Yeah. And I do want to, I just want to say real
Yep,
quick,
please.
I think they'll win the South, but I just want to point out, I don't hate this team, but let's be honest about the Titans. Titans are 5-2. These are the 5 wins they have. They beat the Texans. They beat the Colts twice. They beat the Raiders and they beat the Commanders.
Yikes.
Look, Henry's great, but this week we'll find out how real they are as they play the Chiefs. So we'll see how real they are.
Oh,
They
they'll
play.
get-
You go.
I was just going to say they'll get blasted by at least 3 touchdowns.
They played Buffalo early in the year and they got destroyed. So we'll see how real the Titans are.
And
So,
as Jimmy Stewart said in It's a Wonderful Life, are you real, Mary? Are you real? Are you? Zuzu's pedals. All right. Anything else, Slugs? You got any salutes? Anybody you missed? We lost anybody?
Well, this just in
Yeah,
from
please.
our crack fake news department.
Yes.
Former President Donald Trump is sponsoring Kyrie Irving to be the next governor of New Jersey. More details as they come in.
All right, that's a good way to close up this edition of Sports and Other Stuff. Brought to you in part by Henry Lawrence Clothiers, now available with no contact curbside service. And as always, like they say there, there's no charge for trying it on, folks. And there's a guy we know, he's working there tonight. What's that guy's name?
Fish. With the Thanksgiving holiday coming up, this week's prize-winning contest, We Got Your Bird, will feature all things turkey. Yes, trivia about our favorite Thanksgiving staple. For instance, Did you know that in 300 BC, these big birds were heralded by the Mayan people as vessels of the gods and were domesticated to have roles in religious rites? Also, did you know Ben Franklin wanted the turkey to be America's national bird instead of the eagle? Those are some crazy things. Come on down at 1 p.m. this Saturday and show off your turkey prowess. The prizes for the We Got Your Bird contest are a 22-pound gobbler, along with Molly Pritchin's prize-winning recipe for stuffing, and a box of shotgun shells. As the Mayans would say, gobble, 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 gobble.
Okay, I think we're going to not save this edition of the program. We're just going to shred it up right now and say, join us next time if you can for sports and other stuff. So long for now.
Bam, bam, bam. That is unbelievable.